left wing.
Right. Right.
The
and
National
this Nazi
Socialists.
What's a Nazi right winger, Mr. Carey?
That sounds like that's an oxymoron.
No, he was a Nazi right winger. I saw this. He
was a socialist and a right winger? Right. What kind of wing are we talking about here?
Right.
What is it, 3 lefts make a right?
That's
what it is.
So he was a Nazi right winger, and he had a Confederate flag. There's your 3. that makes him.
Oh, have you seen the Nazi flag? But instead of the black with red, it has the stars and bars.
Oh no!
It's so bad.
Wow,
so bad. So it's the stars, the bars from the stars and bars.
Okay,
in the shape of a swastika.
Right.
And it might have an orange background, kind of like the General Lee. You know how they love.
Oh, jeez.
You know how they love.
So check out. Here's this article that talks about Stalin and this rise of Stalin. Kind of puts the numbers that they credit him with more in perspective, and kind of a little bit looking at more things than the other article that's on Sick Bias. But Medved's grim bookkeeping includes the following tragic episodes: 1 million imprisoned or exiled, 11 million peasants forced off their land to another, 2 to 3 million peasants arrested or exiled in in a massive program that they launched, 6 to 7 million killed by artificial famine. I mean, he forced the famine. So
right.
1 million exiled from Moscow and Leningrad, and 35 million executed during the Great Terror of 37.
You mean there was a great
yes.
purge and a great terror?
Quote, air quotes on this one, quote, Great Terror of 37 to 38. 4 to 6 million dispatched to forced labor camps, 10 to 12 million people forcibly relocated during World War II, at least 1 million arrested for various political crimes. They claim the numbers are closer to 60 million, while the writer I.G. Dakin suggests the numbers between 56 and 62 million, with 34 to 49 million directly linked to Stalin. So he said at least 34 million are directly related. Like Stalin had a hand in on that.
He had a decision to make: either let these people live or have them killed. And his decision was to have them killed.
Right, and I know we've talked about this. You and I have talked about this in conversations before. How many would you accredit Hitler with? And I just went off and said it should be in a 20. It should match Paul Ryan's budget.
Whoa! Wow.
But you kind of put it more into perspective. I mean, Hitler didn't directly kill anybody in Hiroshima or Japan.
Well, let's just
say... But you can't credit those deaths to him.
Of course not. But you also cannot credit the deaths of people that just died in combat.
Right.
Because it's combat. It's not like the Civil War happened and everybody's like, throw Abraham Lincoln on the list of most people killed in history, or the biggest mass murder. Look how many people Lincoln killed. That's not. It just defies
But they do that, though.
Who does that? No, you mean the revisionists, the leftists,
the right-wing Nazis.
Right, the right-wing Nazi party, definitely.
And there's another reason why I kind of brought up this whole thing, and a little bit of a tribute, if you will, to Reagan, as well as to our faith of Christianity. I was talking with a mutual friend of ours over a Christmas holiday, and this mutual friend of ours hasn't been actively, or had been previously, not quite brainwashed, but...
well, haven't we all?
The mind wasn't... There was nothing opposing, and this individual hung out with certain communists and just kind of slipped down that rabbit hole.
Oh, okay.
I said, well, these are the people I work with. And this is what they talk about all day. And you know what? I don't even really listen to them. I just, whatever. But I know you capitalists.
What do they call that? What do they call it? Where it just seeps in?
Seepage. seepage.
No, like osmosis or something like that.
Right.
Like you get brainwashed without. You're like, well, I don't even listen to those people, but it happens
By it would be by osmosis.
Osmosis or whatever. Did you know that, like, if you put celery into a glass of water, nothing happens. It still stays crisp.
Right.
If you put that same celery into a glass of salt water, it gets really limp. I mean, just totally, like, there's no crisp to it anymore. And the reason is because the difference in the salinity of the celery and the water causes water to go out of one and into the other, and then you end up with water. Like, water leaves the celery and it gets all limp. You could try this at home, a little experiment in your kitchen. And so what happens is
she's hanging out with people drinking salt water.
Yeah, it's not like I took a syringe and stuck it into the celery and sucked the water out.
Right.
It just was in a vessel full of salt water.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. So this friend of ours, we'll call her Kate. I don't really know any Kates.
You mean it's a female? Oh, I narrowed it down. I just narrowed it down to 50%.
Could be Caitlyn Jenner.
Oh, I forgot. See, you tricked me. So it's definitely a guy then.
So we'll call this individual Caitlyn.
Okay.
So
or how about Pat?
Pat.
Okay,
Perfect. Pat.
So Pat
says to me, hey, what's the news of the day? You know, I'm really anxious to get involved and to find out. And I've been hearing all these things.
Sounds like Pat was trolling you.
Well, I thought at first, so I just kind of held back. But then Pat said, and I'm so mad. That whole thing with France went down. 139 people died, and I didn't know about it for a week.
Okay.
So were you living under a rock?
I did not hear about that for a week. You have to be on vacation in the Mojave Desert.
Well, they work for the government.
Oh, now we really narrowed it down. We have narrowed it way down. So it's a transvestite that works for the government. Okay.
And builds trainings for the government for their vehicles.
Trannies? Oh, for the vehicles.
Transmissions. Well, that's what they call transmissions or trannies.
Oh, they call transmissions trannies for short.
Because they're in transition of a transmission. So I said, wow, that's really frustrating. And we got to talking and talking about the war and everything in the Middle East and stuff in America and this thing with Obama. Pat voted for Obama. And Pat's upset about that now. Okay. And so Pat said to me, when are we going to how do we get back, and when are we going to get back to that Reagan era? I said, what
does Pat know about Reagan?
I said, you mean like the boom of the 80s and the 90s?
How is somebody who doesn't know for a week what happened in France know anything about Reagan?
Maybe from Pat's parents.
Pat was like, I just found out a president named Ronald Reagan.
And would you believe he was an actor? He's in movies, I hear. So
I just found this out.
I took it at, tongue in cheek. I took it for what it was worth, and I looked at Pat. Normally, I don't really get too choked up unless we've been sitting around drinking a few beers and get emotional about something. Normally, I don't get. And I looked at Pat, and with just a welling of emotions, and may even have been, might have had something in my eye, a speck of dirt or something, and I kind of got choked up. And I told Pat, never in your lifetime. It's not going to happen. We will never get back there again.
Yeah, but were we all the way there? We were in the middle of Cold War, and it took his actions to end the Cold War. And his actions to end the Cold War are now being looked at in retrospect as, oh, look at the big government he built up, and look at the cost of all of that, and look how much debt we accumulated because of it, and look at the amnesty that he did, and all this. So we look back, and
he got roped and doped in that amnesty thing. Well, there's a whole mess of deals. He didn't want to do it, and he didn't like it.
Well, you can make the same argument about George H.W. Bush.
They said they're going to build a wall.
Who?
It's only going to be a one-time deal, one-time amnesty deal.
And then a wall.
They roped him into it, right.
And then they were like, all right, well, let's get started on that wall. And they said, well, you just made everybody legal. Right, so start building that wall. Okay, we'll get right on that. Peace out.
2006, we must build the wall by law. 2006 in one day? Oh, we don't have the money. No wall for us.
We don't have the money.
No, they just didn't fund. They just didn't fund that program. I mean,
but they did fund it.
No, they took the money back.
We didn't. They just recently took it back.
Yeah, there's no money to build that wall.
Tell me this is not
100-mile of double wall, and they took the money out.
Okay, this is some crazy stuff. So the government is well known. It is a fact of life. It is a law of nature that if you give the government money, not only will they spend that, but they will spend more than that and say, "Oh, we need you to make up the difference real quick with this next bill." That's what. Right. Imagine a scenario. What causes Congress to allow or to take the duffel bag, plop it on the ground, and say, "This money is for you to spend on this over here," and whoever's job it is to take that money and start spending it like a drunken sailor?
You know, a drunken sailors get a bad rap.
I know. They take that money and they say, "I'm going to leave it right there, and I'm going to leave it there.
I'm not even going to touch it
until it sits there for so long that Congress, who allotted that money to go do it, is just like, wow, it's been like a decade. I guess we got to take it back." Can you believe that?
We'll put it on another program. Hey, we got a new program over here.
But it sat there for like almost a decade. I've never heard of that. It's got to be unprecedented.
Right. Well,
so what we're talking about
is... It may have sat there for a decade, but yet they did the Dumb and Dumber thing. The Dumb and Dumber thing with the briefcase.
Okay.
It's really gone, but there's all IOUs in it.
Oh, they got the IOUs. Okay, I could see that. I thought you were going to say that they were carrying it around for 10 years, and they never knew there was anything in it of any importance.
They didn't believe Congress actually had any money
like it got left on a bus one time. Right. Like, oh, we got to go back and get that. And then they had to go to the Lost and Found.
Come to find out, it was the nuclear suitcase.
Oh, there was a nuke in it.
No. You open the suitcase, the red button. The red button.
To destroy the whole world.
Right.
It'll launch all 3,000 nukes that we got. Oh, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
The new Minion movie, my daughter just got it.
Okay.
He walks into this room and he trips and hits a button. It's a big red button. Oh. Lights start flashing and beepers start beeping. And he looks up and there's a sticky taped to the wall right above the button that says, "Do not push this button."
Why do they do that?
I don't know.
Why is there even a button there?
He didn't even do it. He already hit the button by the time he got a chance to read the... Yeah.
Why wouldn't there be a piece of safety plastic cover over a big red button?
It wouldn't matter because if it says... If you remember the Ren and Stimpy cartoon?
Oh, I do.
Do you remember the one where... I guess he was in space and he was given the job of not pressing a button. That was his job. He got put in a giant room with nothing in it except for a pedestal. And on top of the pedestal was a giant red button.
Oh, Lord.
And he was tasked. You know, he's dressed up in his, like a uniform, military uniform, but he was in space. It was like a space uniform. So he got put in charge of making sure that he or anybody else does not touch that button.
Did he sweat?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Because he wanted to push it. Because he wanted to push it.
It was a waterfall. I think he filled the room up with sweat. Yeah. So he finally broke down. Spoiler alert.
Don't go back and watch an old Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, he ends up hitting the button.
Wow.
Yeah.
So check this out. In this whole article about communism on the rise, or the support for Stalin on the rise.
I was going to tell you my theory on that, but go ahead.
Apparently... Putin is okay with this. He's in this article. They're saying that.
Anybody surprised?
Well, no, I'm not surprised.
He's an ex-KGB guy. He's probably upset that communism fell in the first place.
Well, he obviously made statements that the old Soviet Union needs to be back in place.
Yeah, but is it
and moving towards it. But
I need to know
But
more
he's getting
information.
support from the Christians over there. The Christian